Today we're going to talk about takedown guns, discrete carry bags, possibly have a little discussion on like bug out type rifles or bug out bags. So um, I've been meaning to make this video for a while, probably for a couple years now. In the past couple years, we've moved 4 times, something like that. And with each time we move, one thing I really appreciate is that um, early on when I started getting into firearms and stuff, I really had a liking towards takedown guns. So for people that don't know, takedown guns, certain guns um, come in a standard variety and then a takedown, meaning an upper and lower or front and back. They break apart. So pretty much you can break your rifle or long gun in half and store it in a more compact form. So, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 times in the past couple of years, no, something like that, that we've moved, moving different firearms from point A to point B when you're not having to deal with 5-foot long rifle cases, and you can deal with backpacks, bags. There's a couple of advantages. First, they take up less space, so that's just kind of better. But then also, especially if you're moving into like public housing or into a neighborhood and there's a lot of neighbors, maybe the first thing, because neighbors are nosy, maybe the first thing they might not want to see is you trucking in umpteen amounts of rifle cases and gun cases and ammo cans. But your mileage may vary on that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I want to get to the bags and kind of talk about the pros and cons. I like some of these more, and I like some of these less. So let's talk about the basic one. So this is made by Vism. I got it on Amazon a couple years back. It's like 30 bucks. And it's not the highest quality, but what I like is its rectangular form factor. It doesn't have a lot of like curves and twists, so it's easy to store within your house. It has a padded divider. It comes with these Velcro retainer straps, and you can see this is a M4 upper lower broken half 16-inch barrel standard, but then it has a linear comp which is about 3 inches long. So pretty much any 16-inch 14.5 upper and shorter will fit in this. Possibly, trying to think, maybe if you stored it diagonally, you could maybe store an 18-inch upper. But the dimensions are about 26 by about 14 and call it 3 inches thick. Mesh pockets that they store about 3 M4 mags per. And you can see, like, I know Such, I think I first saw this bag on his channel, and he had like, I don't know, he called it like a Minuteman loadout, and he had medical gear and knives and chest rigs or something. But you can see it's just basic, just the rifle, and then some first aid. And normally these have mags in it, but I removed it just so it's easier to move these bags around. It has like 1/4 to 1/2 inch foam front, back, and sides. And started with this one. It's technically discreet. It doesn't look like a rifle case, but it also doesn't look like it's bigger than your laptop bag. It's bigger than a briefcase. So it's kind of a mystery box. So it is a discrete carry method. It could be a instrument case or a musical instrument case. So this one's really nice. I like it. It's versatile, rectangular, easy to get into. It came with a shoulder strap that I removed, so it just has a carry handle. You could label if you have a lot of these bags, you could put a piece of paper saying what's in it. The next one that, we'll get to that in a second. So this one is called it's made by Tactical Tailor / Kinetic Development Group. And it's called that. Well, when Tactical Tailor or Grey Ghost Gear made it, it was called the Apparition Pack. This is kind of the knockoff of it. It was a lot cheaper. In my opinion, it's not made as durable. Everly stock, they have the Cherry Bomb that looks similar to this, but the difference is theirs has either one or two like aluminum stays and a better hip belt. And I'm sure it's a lot heavier. But I should have just staged these. You can see pocket, Velcro, 1, 2, 3, 4 pockets there. And two mag pouches, zippered pocket, another pocket, another pocket. This is all hooked loop, and that is another little firearm. So that is a 9-inch barrel, 300 blackout AR, and again, it has a large comp on it. So you could probably fit a Mark 18, which is a 10.5-inch barrel. Yeah, so you could fit a 10.5-inch, maybe an 11.5-inch. But besides that, pretty basic. One cool thing I like on the bottom is an integrated rain fly, and bear with me, I've never done this kind of one-handed. Little extension pocket, probably about 4 inches. So technically, I forget the longest. I should have measured these before the video, but you can actually store, I think, a 16-inch upper in here, or a longer AR pistol, like maybe a 12.5 pistol. So I really like this bag. One thing to keep in mind, it carries really well. It has bottle pouches, or you can put your ammo loose packed into like an Nalgene bottle and stuff it in there if you're going to the range. I've done that before. Two little pockets that you can store medical gear, flashlights, knives, multi-tools, range tools. And you have this pocket. Which kind of billows out. On the back, you can see an adjustable harness, minimal padding, thin shoulder straps, and it comes with a waist belt, which is removed. And the smallest feature, I added this locking carabiner, but it has a carry handle, so this can hang in a closet if it has those integrated shelves. I just clip it, it hangs against the wall really nice. So I really like this bag for what it does. I feel it's pretty high value. Um, I forget the price on it, a little over 100. The one thing I kind of dislike is it's a long bag and it rides really close. So like I've taken this hiking before. You can run with it. It doesn't move around that much. But the problem comes in if you want to load this up, if you want to make this like your get home bag, for example, and you want to start loading stuff into these pockets, it has a lot of pockets. The downside that I found is that how it's designed, the bottom stays really narrow, and up here you get like a big round like bulge. It still carries fine, but just storage, especially if it's full like that, because I used to keep this in my truck and I used to have more stuff in it, and it actually doesn't hold that much, but it actually takes up a lot of space because of that design. Why did they design it like that? Probably to trick the eye, to make it look, I don't know. But that's something to keep in mind. It has a lot of pockets, but Red Dawn AK-74, I think I have the same flat green bag for my 10.5. Um, so I really like this for what it is. And something that I'll just get into now with discrete rifle bags is how multi-use is it. The bag below it, it's kind of single purpose. You could take the rifle out and maybe use it to store a musical instrument. You could maybe use it to store some delicate electronics or something. But there's not many other uses for this. What I like about this is you can take the weapon out or leave it in, depending on how you roll. But I've used this so many times for hiking because the bag itself is really lightweight and I like it being long. It rides tight to my body. It even has these loops that you can use to carry trekking poles. So this is actually a phenomenal hiking backpack. Um, it's not the most durable, but it rides really comfortable as long as you keep it relatively light. So the bag below it was about 30 bucks. I want to say this is in the neighborhood north of 100, south of 200. But again, I got this on a really big sale and I think it was under 100. So if you keep your eye out, if it's still being made, you can pick up a really good deal and you can pick up a really high value tool because it can be used for weapons carry, but it can also work as a phenomenal day pack or a fishing pack. You could use this to hold your fishing poles. Just some ideas. So keep that in mind. This bag's more expensive, but I can use it for multiple purposes versus some of these other ones. They're like dedicated outside of carrying weapons. There's not much use. So keep that in mind in your buying because, if you just need a bag to store a weapon in your house, you could, like a takedown gun, you could pack it up in like wool socks, both the upper and the lower, and put both those in a dry bag and put it anywhere and save a lot of money. So, different considerations to take in mind. Do you need super high quality? Do you need military grade? Does it need to be American made, super strong to survive, a bomb blast, like a Pelican case or something? Or can you get by with cheaper, lighter alternatives because you're not going to be transporting it all that much? So the next one is one that I'll wait on that one. So this one, I don't believe is made anymore. This was made by Blackhawk, and it's called the Blackhawk Diversion Bag. And again, with a lot of these, sometimes I would buy them even if I didn't need it right away, because with a lot of these nylon bags, they're made, and then the next year you can't find them. So I picked this up, and I want to say I paid 20 bucks for it because some company was trying to get rid of it or closing out Blackhawk. And I think Blackhawk is still around. I just don't think they make this bag. But I think Hazard 4, they make one similar. I think it's bigger, bulkier, more complex. But I think Hazard 4, maybe 511, I forget. Um, Now, for what this bag does, it works. It's supposed to look like a tennis racket bag. Another issue to keep in mind is if you're going to be carrying this out in public, pick a bag that suits your lifestyle and will blend in. I'm not a big tennis player, but maybe if I was in my late 60s, early 70s wearing, khaki shorts and like a button up at the country club, this would blend in more, but the lifestyle that I live, this doesn't really blend in, but it still serves its role. Looks like a tennis racket bag. It might look like a violin case, but again, I don't really look like a violinist, even though I played the violin in my early years. So it could be a violin bag, and it could be a tennis racket bag. And yes, that's a Mossberg Blinkster with a folding stock, tech sights, painted licorice red. Why licorice red? Because I thought it might look cool. And I guess they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I think it looks kind of cool. But again, we're talking about just the bag. But it houses that. And I think this is about 6 spare mags loaded in a point and shoot camera case. So it's kind of a whole weapons system ready to go. So getting to one that I really don't like, this is made by Copper Basin, and I think they still sell it on Amazon. I think it's gone through a couple different changes, modifications. But Copper Basin, I think it's called like the Discrete rifle bag or something. And the pictures, again, I kind of fell for the advertisement. All the pictures make it look really cool, really innovative. I hate it, but you might like it. So Copper Basin mesh, those can work for water bottles or for brass. You can put your expired shells in there. Pocket key keeper. I don't know why so many packs include these, but that's there. It has, small bag, mesh. It has a bag up here. It has bungees. So you get a lot of cool things. The reason I don't like it, well, a couple. Number one is it has this strap. So you're supposed to hang this around your vehicle headrest. Can you? Yeah. But every time you stop and go, it's going to be slamming against the back of your car seat. Or maybe it's just me that drives like that. But detachable shoulder straps, these daisy chains here, sternum strap. This one, I don't think came with a belt, but you can add a belt. It has a sleeve back here. Very cheap, but also very common. Now, up till this point, it looks like a pretty good bag. The reason I don't like it is it's a pain to get into. Um, why they designed it like this, I'm not sure. It has this fake leather on the bottom. It gives it a little bit of class. So it looks pretty cool. In the pictures, um, in pictures on video, it might look like a really good bag. It has this large compartment, the smaller. These have like 22 shells or, yeah, 1022 mags. Has a mesh pocket down there. And on their site, they talk about, I think, the Shockwave, I don't know all those newfangled 9mm pistol carbines, but a host of them fit in here along with the 1022. But my problem is first axis. It's just very weird to get into. Second, like you don't really know what's in each bag. There are some retaining straps, but the whole thing, it's, I wouldn't say it's not well engineered. It's almost like over engineered to the point of not being that functional. But again, you might be different. You might really like this bag. And if you're in the market for this, I'm trying to get rid of this. So you can hit me up in the comments or send me a message. If you want this bag, we can probably work something out. Maybe some of the advantages. One would be at the range on the concrete table, you can lay this out and lay your gun here. So the gun or the concrete table doesn't scratch your gun because it's padded. Um, you know, maybe it's raining outside right now, so like maybe you open it up and you want to lay prone or you want to kneel on something. So this is like a mini shooting mat. Um, and even on video, it looks really cool, but once you get your hands on it, you kind of realize it's a little bit hokey. It's not that functional. It's almost too functional to be functional. Hopefully I'm making sense on that. But this is one I wouldn't recommend. And then just zipping the whole thing up. It's one thing when it's empty. Once you have it loaded with, 10 pounds, 5, 10, 15 pounds of stuff, and you're trying to flap this over, and then you pull up this side, and you need like 4 hands to zipper it. So if you can't tell, I'm not a big fan. So the last two I have are hiking backpacks. They're not marketed as discrete carry cases, and that's what I wanted to talk about before falling for marketing hype like Vertex. Vertex is a decent brand. There's a couple too many shills out there on YouTube just trying to pump their products out. Vertex is a decent brand. They have a lot of different discrete carry methods. I've used some of them and I've looked at others. For what they are, for a single purpose bag, they're all right. They make some good EDC bags, but also you got to pay a price, right? They're kind of expensive. So these two bags are geared towards hiking and outdoors, and that's just one thing I wanted to bring up. If you want a rifle or a firearms discrete carry bag, what's more discrete than a bag that was never designed to carry a rifle or a weapon? All those offerings I showed you, even this one having the bright colors looks more like a hiking bag, but all those other methods, it's almost like these firearms makers engineered it to be so covert that they made it overtly covert, if that makes sense. They went over the top to make it not look like a gun case, that it looks not like anything else except a gun case. Um, and that's kind of hard to realize until you have used a lot of them and you have them all lined up. And, especially if you have a stranger walk in and say, which one of these has a gun in it? Most likely they're going to pick the ones that don't look like what they're used to seeing. This is a Camelback linchpin. Again, I don't know. Like I said, I've had a lot of these for quite some time. Um, this is a really durable Daypack 500 nylon, lots of pockets, designed not for rifle carry. But one thing with Camelbacks is they have a hydration pouch to hold the bladder. When I go hiking, like, I don't really use hydration bladders, but what that allows, they did this, I think, without meaning to, is you have a dedicated pouch that's thin. And in this case, this backpack's about 19 inches long. So I'm not going to take it out. Well, it's a Ruger 1022 Takedown in a Magpul backpacker stock. It has tech sights and it has a sling, and it has 4 10-round mags stored on the rifle. But what I like is that you zip it away and you can use the rest of your bag. And the advantage of that hydration pouch is there's padding in it to insulate, to keep your water cold, but it also acts as insulation to keep things from damaging your rifle, and also to keep your rifle from possibly damaging things in your pack. And on the inside, you can see it's just your basic. The rifle eats up some of the space, but you still have lots and lots of room. You have straps here, and like I said, Camelback might not make this one anymore, but they probably make either an improved version or a variation. This one is kind of designed, I think, geared more towards the military side. I think they say you can put a helmet there. You can put your goggles or your sunglasses in this pouch. It also works very well for carrying a pair of Steiner 8x30 binoculars. Each one of these holds, I think, 6 M4 mags. They also fit USGI canteens very well. An admin pouch on the front, and enough compression straps to compress it without enough compression straps to annoy you. I've had some backpacks that have 10, 12 different compression straps, and it's like, how compressed do you really need to make this? What are we trying to do here? So, and this last one is a really common backpack. This is the Kelty Red Wing. This is, I have a black one, and that's the standard. This one it's made out of like a 500 denier Cordura. It's kind of more their military line. It's supposed to be more rugged. I actually prefer the non-military version more, but Kelty Red Wing 50. So the first thing I wanted to point out is maybe you want to go backpacking, hiking, fishing, hunting, and you want a way to carry a long gun, but you don't necessarily need to be that discreet about it. Let's say you're out in national forest, out in the middle of nowhere, you're not going to see anyone, and anyone you do see will also be armed hunting. So one option with this is it has these pockets here that slide through, and this is a short little 300 blackout. Short little single shot 300 block. So that's one option. You have it on both sides, so technically you could carry a shotgun and rifle, or 2 rifles, or fishing poles, like a breakdown fishing pole or a fly fishing rod, or you could carry an axe or a machete, trekking poles, an ice axe. Um, and then you have a waist strap. This isn't really a review of this backpack, but what I really like about this backpack is its multifunctionality. I've used this for travel. I've used this for um, airline travel, for road trips, for business trips out of town, packing a couple days worth of clothes in here, no problem. Um, for hiking, for hunting, for fishing trips. Um, I really like this backpack. Now it's a 50 liter, but what I end up doing, especially if I'm hiking or cross country skiing or snowshoeing or mountain biking or just outside, is generally I'll only load this maybe to have capacity or less and then just compress it down. The advantage for me is I have a long torso. So your normal day pack on me, it feels like a little kid backpack, like one that you would buy like a toddler on their first day of school or something. Um, Me having a longer torso, I find taller packs have more of the pack in contact with my back, so they sway a lot less and they're more stable and they're more comfortable. So I like taller, thinner packs. So even though this is a 50 liter, you can compress it down to a 20-liter lightweight hiking bag. Um, it weighs about 3 pounds, so it's not some uber tactical 10-pound, backpack. And it has pockets everywhere. Keep in mind, it is easier to get into. I'm just doing this one-handed while trying to hold a camera. "16-inch M4, upper, lower." So this one you can also use to store either a full-sized rifle. You could possibly put an AK, no, maybe an AK underfolder. I don't have AK, so I don't know the overall length. You put your Takedown 22s. You can fit a lot of rifles in this bag. The Law Tactile Folder, which is for the AR, it's a folding stock mechanism. You can put the weapon down the sleeve and then fold the stock on this side, because with that Law Tactical, they become really wide. So you could put that and fold the stock over, pack around it. No one would be the wiser, at least until they open your bag and see all your equipment, I guess. So, that's all the bags I have. It was a little bit long-winded going through them all, longer than I thought it'd be, but I wanted to kind of go through all of them at once because I've thought about reviewing these separately, but then I thought about it and thought about what kind of video I'd want to watch. And to me, it seems more beneficial seeing. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. To me, it seemed like it would be more beneficial seeing multiple of them out, seeing the differences, comparing the size, comparing the features, the pros and the cons. The other thing to keep in mind is there's other alternatives as well. Some of them might not even be designed for firearms storage. One you can see behind, which is just making its guest appearance. This wasn't really planned, but Milwaukee pack-out boxes. I use Milwaukee pack-out boxes for tools, but I also use it for ammo storage. I use it for pistols, for magazine storage, because what I like about it, if you don't know the pack-out system, and this wasn't really scripted, but I have a wheeled case on the bottom, and then all the other cases kind of slide in and lock. So you can have that stacked, like, I forget how high I've had it stacked because I have more boxes. So, when I stack them to full height, it's like the size of a dorm refrigerator. It's pretty large. Just be mindful on how much weight you have in it. Keep the heavy stuff at the bottom, lighter stuff up top. But that's really convenient. And in the field or in the lifestyle I'm in, that blends in. Tools, tradesmen, electricians, plumbers, tradesmen, they use Milwaukee Packout all the time. DeWalt has its own model, but you could be inventive in your storage. And then the other thing, like I was talking about, the lifestyle in which you live, guitar case, a gig bag, a nylon. You can get them on Amazon relatively cheap. And I've considered doing that, except the part that I've never played a guitar. I don't really know the first thing about guitar playing. So it just, for me, it would feel out of place. But for you, maybe you're in the music field, that would be your perfect solution. Or I talked about it before, but a violin case. Back when I was, uh, I guess, middle school, I played violin for a couple of years, and I remember the size of the case. That could easily store, a small takedown uh, braced pistol or a small takedown rifle. Um, a laptop bag, again, if you're more in the business setting or the college setting or the education setting, a laptop bag would blend in. A lot of those little takedown PCCs and takedown carvings could probably fit in a laptop bag or a briefcase. If you're, like I said, more in the business sector, a briefcase would blends in your environment. So just consider the lifestyle you live, the environment you live in, what would look out of place, what just kind of blends in, while keeping in mind that your best solution might not be a dedicated discrete carry bag. Your best option might just be a hiking backpack. I don't know if you can see in the back, but it's an Osprey Atmos 65. That's like a multi-day backpack. Um, it's not designed to carry a put together M4, but it fits. So sometimes thinking outside the box, sometimes repurposing something you already have, not only can save you money, but sometimes you get a better result because you already had that piece of gear for a reason. It obviously melds with your lifestyle, so it won't look out of place when you're carrying it around. And the other thing to keep in mind, like I said, there's different levels of discrete carry or backpack carry. I'm not talking about carrying this every day, but other people might. I'm talking about mostly hiding in plain sight, repurposing bags that I have. Instead of keeping them empty at home, I can discreetly store different firearms as I see fit, while at any time being able to take the weapon out and use it for its intended purpose. So that means, to me, that's just efficiency. Um, the, we walked through, I don't have every single takedown weapon or rifle, but we went through the takedown 1022, the folding stock 22, the handy rifle over there. It looks like an SBR, but it's not. That's a 16-inch barrel. Because it doesn't really have an action like a bolt action, it makes it that much shorter. But that gun there, you can actually take apart into two halves. The barrel side measures 16 inches. I think both pieces measure about 16 inches. And we talked about the M4 platform, or some people refer to it as the AR-15. M4 rolls off the tongue easier for me. What's funny is a lot of people don't think of the AR-15 as a takedown gun, when technically it's like one of the best takedown guns because you don't have to use any tools. You pop two pins and you have an upper lower half. So it's one of the quickest, most efficient, most prolific takedown guns. But I don't really hear a lot of people referring to the AR-15 as a takedown gun, even though it's super common to store it in its two halves. Um, but I'll probably do more videos on the subject in the future. I'm a big fan of takedown guns, less storage space, OPSEC / discretion we went over. Generally, they're lighter weight, like that 1022 in that backpack. I think it's like 3.5 pounds. Um, you can more creative storage. I'm just kind of rolling off my notes really quick. I put more creative storage, meaning inside your house. There's a term, don't store all your eggs in one basket. There's a lot of people who have this massive gun safe and all their guns crammed into that cabinet, not knowing that it's relatively easy for a thief to break in. It's relatively easy for a fire to ravage through that fireproof safe. It's relatively easy, with enough manpower, they could just pick up that whole safe and throw it in a pickup and drive off with how many thousands of dollars worth of stolen material. So, um, everyone has their preference. I don't like keeping all firearms in one central location. Other people do. Um, but the benefit of takedown guns is they are a smaller form factor, meaning you can store them in multiple places. This one hangs in the master bedroom walk-in closet. It had the carabiner. It hangs, and then the clothes are in front of it, so you don't even know it's there. Um, and I don't have to reveal where I store um, any of these other ones, but when you're not dealing with a full-length rifle case and you're just dealing with a 2 foot long rectangle, you can sneak it in to a lot of places, which is kind of cool. The other thing I thought about is van life, boat life. Um, there's a lot of people foregoing expensive apartments and just living full time in a van, which I think is an interesting lifestyle. Van life, converting sprinter vans, cargo vans into mini campers. The issue comes up is you're dealing with a lot less space. So maybe you still want your firearms collection, but you're living in a van down by the river. No, you're living in a van, you don't have enough space. The advantage of the takedown style of weapons is they take up less space in storage. So in your van, they would take up that much less space. Or a boat is kind of the same thing. Generally, if you're living full time on a boat, you're living in a smaller environment. And actually, I'll roll into that the tiny house movement. And I get it's two different subjects. Generally, the firearms community and the kind of green hippie type peace loving people don't meld. Generally, that's kind of the tiny house people, that it's kind of two different genres. But there's some crossover, because the tiny house movement is about living in smaller square footage, minimalist lifestyle, taking up less space, impacting the environment less, uh, removing yourself from like caustic uh, building, traditional building, the pollutants. I get it. Um, but it's funny because takedown guns and discrete storage by default are kind of minimalist and kind of fit in that same role because they take up less space. So if you do the tiny house thing, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to give up your whole gun collection. You could just decide to convert their storage into backpacks or smaller weapons cases. Um, so it takes up less square footage in your tiny home. Um, and one of the biggest things I like about the takedown guns is you're more likely to have them. Um, and I don't just mean in like a survival end of the world thing, but road trips. Um, I've driven through some kind of shadier parts of the country, and sometimes it gives you a little bit peace of mind when you start hearing the banjos play in the background. It gives you a little bit of peace of mind that you might have some adequate hardware if the worst was to happen. Camping trips, I grew up going to the Boundary Waters, and there was at least one long gun that was generally brought with. Um, Boundary Waters, you're pretty much fishing, but you're in remote parts up near Canada. You're a couple hours away from civilization. Um, so if things were to happen, you're kind of your own first responder up there. a truck slash tractor gun. If you have a truck toolbox on your pickup, this would be a lot easier to store. Weather guard, the toolbox I have is a weather guard, but it's extra wide. So I think inside it's like 28 inches. So any of these bags fit the short way. With a traditional rifle bag, you'd have to store it the long way. And to me, it's just not as efficient and more. If someone was to see in that toolbox, having a rifle case at the very top stands out. Having just a little backpack stored on the driver's side down, hidden, doesn't stand out as much. And then also tractor carry slash UTV, ATV. I'm not really into ATV. We don't have UTVs, ATVs, side-by-side snowmobiles. But for guys that do, any of these bags or rifles would be really easy to store on board an ATV, a side-by-side. I know a lot of the newer side-by-sides even come with like little locking trunks or locking compartments that you could, store necessary hardware in. And then we already talked about fishing trips. A lot of times, people that go Montana, Colorado, Wyoming, Alaska for a fly fishing trip or for just a fishing trip, they're going with the intention of fishing, not hunting. But a lot of times it seems like they're the ones that find themselves in trouble. They're in their waders hip deep, and all of a sudden, they hear some spooky noises, and they don't have hardware necessary to deal with that because it would have been too bulky to carry, a 40-inch long Winchester Model 70, but a Takedown M4, you can get Takedown M4s in large calibers like 450, 458, 50 Beowulf that pack a lot of punch at short distance. It might make adequate bear medicine, so to speak. So just another thing to keep in mind. So I think I've rambled on long enough. Like I said, in the future I want to make another video dedicated just talking about different takedown rifle platforms. But today I just want to talk about different bags, different ways of storage, thinking outside of the box, hiding in plain sight, taking up less space, being able to discreetly move your firearms with privacy, because like I said at the beginning of the video, maybe you want to send a show of force to your new neighbors, but maybe you don't want your whole block knowing, that you have, enough armaments to fulfill a small platoon stored in your 3-bed, 2-bath, suburb house. But your mileage may differ. So I think I'm going to sign off. Like always, after this video uploads, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, go back to my homepage and subscribe if you haven't already. And I do really want to thank, I think we just hit 7,000 subscribers like last week or something like that. So I do really appreciate that. So until next time, stay safe.